You've got good, good energy knocking at your door. You've got good, good energy. We can make it more. We can make it more. We can make it more. Good energy.
We're honored and pleased to have some representatives from Camp Ooch today talk a little bit about their programs, wonderful programs. It makes a difference in children's lives, as we just heard. And so I'd like to start off by inviting Rob Dryden up from Camp Ooch.
Rob! Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for having us, and that's an incredible way to start talking about what Camp Ooch does. I've been on the ride, this is my third day, and I'm a newbie to the ride. I like to think of myself as a marshal's assistant, because I've been at the back there, and I'm just helping them out. The past couple of nights, you've heard a lot about Camp Quality and Camp Trillium. And tonight you're going to hear about Camp Ooch, and I'll tell you all three camps are incredibly special and incredibly important. And we've got Nora Shaughnessy, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the program that Camp Ooch does in the hospital. And it's a little different than what you've been hearing about the camps. We all have programs that reach out to these kids in the community. And we're going to tell you a little bit about ours. And the funding for that, 100% of the funding, comes from this and the Ride for Caring. So we are incredibly grateful because 4 years ago, it didn't exist. And without this ride, without the money that you raise, this program wouldn't have existed, and it's had an incredible impact on children with cancer. But the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to acknowledge someone that I don't think we can acknowledge enough. And it's one person, and then it's a group of people along with that person. And that person's Jeff Rushton. He's an absolute force. Jeff and this whole team that put this together and all those other incredible events have done more to benefit the lives of children with cancer in the past 7 years than I think anyone else has in the past 20. And I don't think that's any small statement. So congratulations and thank you so much for everything. So I'm going to introduce Michelle Ahmed. She's our Director of Development, and she's going to tell you a little bit about Ooch, and then we're going to turn it over to Nora. So thanks so much.
Hi everybody. You all look great considering you've been riding for 3 days so far. I wouldn't even attempt this, so congratulations to everybody. Before I introduce Nora, I just wanted to give you a little update on what actually is happening at camp this summer. I was at camp yesterday morning and had the privilege of saying goodbye to our Session 3 campers, and we had our biggest session ever in Ooch history. We had 85 kids at camp for that session, which is unbelievable, and a lot of that has to do with the program that Nora's going to talk to you about. And I also want to let you know that tomorrow our 7th skate teen camp starts. So we have 45 recently diagnosed teenagers who are coming up to camp for a week of teen camp, which is pretty special. So I want to thank you all so much for being here. What we do wouldn't be possible without our donor and volunteer community. We get no government funding, so it's events like this that make what we do possible. So I'm going to introduce Nora now. Nora is our in-hospital program manager. And to give you a little history, this is the first time Nora's actually been able to attend this event. Historically, she's always at camp, but we managed to get her here tonight, so we're so excited. Nora actually started in the oncology camping field in the summer of 2002 at Camp Trillium, which at Garrett's Island. Ever since that summer, she was hooked, and she since then has worked at Kids Cancer Care Foundation in Alberta, at a hole-in-the-wall camp in Florida, and Nora's a social worker by training, and has experience at CHEO in Ottawa, and at St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. So she has lots of great camp experience. And in 2007, Nora proudly joined the Ooch team, and she helped start the in-hospital program. Her favorite in-hospital activities are shrink art, prank calls, and lemonade stands. So please help me in welcoming Nora.
I'm really happy to be here today. If it weren't for all of you, then my job wouldn't exist. So thank you so much for letting me have the best job in the world. One one person I want to acknowledge straight off the bat is Rob. He's riding for Dawson Hamilton today.
Rob, where's Rob Myers?
You shouldn't have favorite kids, I've been told. But Dawson Hamilton was one of my all-time favorite kids in the hospital. His family was right around here. He's an amazing camper, an amazing kid, participated in all of our in-hospital programs, and it's really serendipitous that today's ride, part of it was dedicated to him. Two other people I want to acknowledge right off the bat are two kids from Sick Kids who are riding today, Peter and Adam. Can you stand up? These are two amazing young men. Not only are they athletic, they're very polite and kind too. Great. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the highlight of my summer so far. We have this camp up north, it's in the Muskokas, and we have this camp in the hospital that exists at Sick Kids. And we were thinking of ways this summer of how to connect the two. So how do you connect camp in the hospital and the camp at Sick Kids? Sorry, no, camp in the hospital and the camp up north. And there's this amazing thing called Skype. I'm sure some of you have heard of it. And so we did a Skype video conference call between the camp in the hospital and the camp up north. Sounds like a really simple thing. It was really, really cool. We broadcasted on the wall in the dining hall with about 250 people. And then for me, I was at the hospital with a group of about 30 kids or so. But the really neat thing is that there was a camper who was at the hospital who, she'd been at camp for the beginning of that session, but she'd actually gotten sick and was airlifted from camp back to Sick Kids. But her camp experience didn't end right there, because we had camp in the hospital. So she was actually able to be on the other end of the Skype conference call and be seeing her cabin group, and they sung her a song, and her mom was in the room, and it was just a really, really neat moment. So that's the highlight of my summer so far. There's a PowerPoint presentation over there, but I'm here. Feel free to look wherever you want. No big deal. So to explain a little bit where the in-hospital program came from, as I said, we're a camp up north. In the Muskokas, and we're a year-round facility. So we have programs in the summer, and as well we have programs in the fall, we have programs in the winter, and the thing that makes us unique is that our kids are on treatment, and we're really lucky. We're a volunteer-based organization, and we're staffed by doctors and nurses at Sick Kids. So these patients, they know the doctors and nurses from the hospital, they get up to camp, same doctors and nurses. They know their care, they feel comfortable. It's pretty neat, it's terrific. And one really something that makes us pretty unique is that we're able to provide IV chemotherapy as well as blood transfusions up at camp. And I think it's all about sort of extraordinary things happening at extraordinary times by extraordinary people. And an example of this would be there was a kid last summer not feeling well, had a blood transfusion in the morning, went water skiing in the afternoon. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that kind of thing. So after summer camp, we started doing some programs in the city. So we've got a day camp that happens in the summer, we just finished 2 weeks of. We have a March break day camp, and we have YOs, urban Ooches, and those happen on Saturdays and Sundays. And these events were originally thought of for kids who weren't well enough to go to camp rather, or who didn't want to go to camp. So they just wanted to hang out in the city, so we started those programs. And then we, in 2006, we started doing some research. Those are some pictures from our in-city program. Drew Blanchette is an in-hospital volunteer, in-city volunteer, Camp Ooch volunteer. He's riding today. I don't know if he's in the room. So in 2006, we did this survey of all of our stakeholders, so parents, campers, volunteers, Sick Kids staff, etc. And they were saying, you know, there's a bit of a disconnect. There's this amazing program that's happening in the city, and they've got this program up north. But these families are spending all their time at Sick Kids, so why not start something at Sick Kids? Let's start a program at Sick Kids. So I was hired in 2007 to start this program, and just to develop the program. So figuring out where we fit in the hospital, how can we complement the team, how can we help child life, how can we help social work, what can we do? So started off as just me, and because of your amazing support and fundraising, it started. And then today, there's 5 of us on the team, and we run programs 7 days a week. There's a program this afternoon, and we're year-round. We're there every day. We're there on weekends, we're there in the evenings. It's pretty neat. So, another huge component of our program that I should mention is our volunteer-based program, and that runs from Monday to Thursday evenings. And the volunteers are put on teams of 4, and they go into the playrooms and hang out with the kids who are impatient. But in the past, we found that there wasn't enough sort of supervision for the volunteers. It wasn't consistent. They would come in once a month and meet a few kids and kind of go, oh, who should I hang out with? And in May, on Monday night, they would make flower pots for Mother's Day. Great. Tuesday night, they'd make flower pots for Mother's Day. Awesome. Kids didn't get sick of it all. Wednesday night, you guessed it, flower pots, Mother's Day. So now what we do is we have a Camp Ooch staff member who's there every evening to guide our volunteers, give them some support in terms of which rooms to go into, and as well as to help them with different ideas of what they're going to do in the evenings. The goals of our program are quite elementary, but I would argue that they make the world of difference. Our first goal, we want to bring camp to the hospital, and that can happen in so many different ways. We want to support the child life staff by providing social and recreational programs in the hospital. We want to provide respite for the parents. And, you know, camp is all about meeting friends, making connections, providing distraction, having fun, and challenging yourself and learning something new. So that's what we really, really wanted to do in the hospital. I'm going to tell you a quick story about 2 teenagers that I hung out with a couple of years ago. One was in the bone marrow transplant unit at SickKids, so that's an 8B. The other was in the inpatient oncology unit, which is 8A. And these are teens, and oftentimes teens in the hospital think that they're the only teens in the hospital because they don't come out of their room. And I had played walkie-talkie Battleship at Camp Trillium before with Joel, who's sitting up here. And I decided that this would be an all-right thing to do in the hospital, and it's exactly as it sounds. Both kids had a walkie-talkie in their room and a Battleship board, and I assume they were being honest. And they played walkie-talkie Battleship room to room. And it sounds like the most simple thing, but it met all of our goals. They were distracted, they had fun, they were doing something different, they weren't just sitting there. And later on, these 2 boys met in real life, not over just a walkie-talkie, and they became really good friends, and they actually have attended camp for the last 3 summers together for the same session. So it's really neat. This is going to go really long if you clap after every slide. Where does camp happen in the hospital? Camp happens all over, anywhere there is a child with a cancer diagnosis. So to illustrate that, the most common form of childhood cancer is ALL. It's a form of leukemia, and it takes about 2.5 to 3 years to treat. So we might meet a patient, first off, in the outpatient clinic when they're diagnosed, and that's when they become an Ooch camper. It's not when they come to camp, it's when they're first diagnosed. They're considered one of our campers. So we meet them there, they're in clinic for a few days, then they get admitted for what's called their induction phase. And in their induction phase, they are in the hospital for 2 weeks. 2 weeks to like 2 months. And we see them in the afternoon in our group programs, in our bedside programs, and then in the volunteer program in the evening. Then they're discharged from the hospital, and now they're in their maintenance phase. And for the next sort of 2 years, they're just there on and off, sometimes only once a month. But the really neat thing is that we continue to see them in the clinic, and when they come back for their checkups later on, we're still there and we're still seeing them. They're seeing the same people, it doesn't change. I think it's really neat because when they come in, they're telling us really neat stories, which might just seem really mundane, like, I made a soccer team, or I was in my school play, and it's really neat that they're so excited to tell us those things as a normal kid. They're pumped to see us, and we're not asking them questions about, oh, how are you feeling, how are your blood counts, any bruising. It's just fun stuff. It's really, really neat for them to see us.
You've got good energy knocking at your door. You've got good energy. We can make it more.